Hello, my name is Ben,
And my name's Josh.
and welcome back to FPL Graduates, and welcome back to another pre-season video. Another big guest appearance. FPL Eire is going to be joining us, and he is going to be telling us about his FPL team for the 23-24 season. Without further ado, let's get straight into it.
So here he is, the main man himself, Mr. Top 10K, we like to call him round here. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. How are you keeping, lads? I'm just glad Ben got the Eire pronunciation right, so I'm just glad that's sorted anyway. Good man.
Yeah, if you didn't know, in game week 39, Ben and Niall both played in that, and we savagely pronounced his name wrong. Well, Ben did in the car to the commentator. So for that, the whole thing, it was just pronounced totally wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's all right. We've got it sorted now anyway. So Eire anyway, for whoever's watching, but it's grand now.
Yeah, so Niall, FPL this year, it's going to be hopefully a really big year. There's been a lot of controversial opinions flying about this year, some big calls made by some pretty good managers on certain players. Is there a certain player that you have in mind that you think, you know what, despite what everyone says about him, you think they're going to have an unbelievable year? And if you could give us some reasonings behind that, that would be great as well.
We have our Rashfords, obviously we have our Haalands, we have our Trents, but off the top of my head, looking at pre-season, maybe a certain Ben Chilwell. I know he missed a lot of last season through injuries or whatever, and it didn't really go from last year. But looking at a highlights anyway from a few of the Chelsea games, he looks good anyway. I know Chelsea have a not a great start anyway for a clean sheet potential with the Liverpool game, and it turns in game week 4, game week 5, but for that lovely run. But maybe Ben Chilwell, yeah, it's 5.5 million. He's looking good. He's on set pieces. He took his goal well 2 games ago in pre-season. So it's trying to stay away from the obvious picks, obviously in midfield and that. Yeah, but maybe one to watch is certainly Ben Chilwell. With hopefully Pochettino has them set in the back in the defense. But even looking forward then in attacking, as I was saying, set piece and that now. So yeah, looking at that, yeah, Ben Chilwell. I think obviously Reece James is there as well, but we all know about his injury woes. So yeah, I'm gonna say Chilwell, and hopefully he has a good season.
Yeah, definitely. He's had a flying pre-season, that's for sure. How would you navigate getting him in your team? Because obviously he's 5.5 million, so a decent price point. But like you mentioned, Liverpool first game week. Would you take him from the get-go and sort of bench him game week 1, maybe game week 2, and then sort of integrate him in that way? Or would you maybe look to bring him in a transfer later down the line? What would you do?
Yeah, myself and Ben were just chatting about it there on an Instagram live earlier. I think we're obviously talking about not booking in a transfer, but for now he's not in the team. I have Trent, I have Estepinian, I like Brighton's first 3, and I've Gabriel, and who's my third off the top of my head? Estepinian, Gabriel, and 2 seconds. I'll have to check there. Trent, obviously, it's obviously Trent. But yeah, I think looking after game week 3, Brighton's fixtures probably do obviously take a turn. So we saw Estepinian last year. He can return in any game, but maybe that could be the route to bring in Chilwell there. So trying to find 0.5 could be a wee bit of a task, but for now I've no money in the bank. But as myself and Ben were chatting about, could be sensible to start off at 0.5, and then that's an easy switch from Estepinian to Chilwell. But yeah, that's potentially how I'm looking up. For now I'm starting with Trent. I do want him because it's easier to start with him than start without him. And if he goes off well, we were saying earlier that Chelsea and Liverpool fixtures always kind of turn out to be a 0-0. So if that is the case, Trent could easily get a 9-pointer all bonus there, and you don't want to be scrambling to get him into the team and taking a -4 or -8 to get him in. But that I'm going against what I'm saying. I don't want to be booking in transfers, but for now I am with that Estepinian for Chilwell game week 3.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you've had a ridiculous record last season, captaincy-wise. What do you go through in terms of captaincy? Do you want to tell us your record last season and what's in your thought process? Obviously, you get the captaincy videos out on Instagram. I'm sure a lot of people would have seen them. But yeah, what goes through your head when picking captaincy?
Yeah, I think it sounds good, but in the grand scheme of things, potentially maybe it isn't with Haaland. But saying that, of the 30 captaincies I got right, Haaland was probably maybe half, would say, or a bit more than half. But so you do have to weigh up your options in other games to get them right. But yeah, fixtures is the big thing. Form as well. And we were chatting about the double game week when Brighton when Brighton doubled, I went Matoma, and obviously that turned out well. But little things, yeah, form, obviously fixtures, yeah, just picking players who you think are going to score well. For example, I don't know if Veghorst has a double game week, which he will do later on in the season. And are you going to captain him? Probably not. In the grand scheme of things, you're probably going to go for whoever has a nicer fixture, one of the premium players. But yeah, just getting the captaincy right is obviously a massive part of FPL. And I was lucky enough to have that record. Thankfully, I got that record with the hours spent at pitches during the week, kicking points and missing points and hitting crossbars and whatever. But yeah, this year is going to be interesting. I think. Yeah, we obviously you play the captaincy sensibly. So looking ahead, I know it's looking too far ahead. Game week 18, City are going to blank. So in your head, then that's probably a week where you're going to risk it on someone. I don't know the fixtures off the top of my head, but taking risks at the right time. I go back then to St. Patrick's Day last year. Everybody was captaining Kane against Southampton, and I just had a good feeling Saka was going to do something against Palace. And then thankfully, I was down in Dublin for the weekend, for Paddy's weekend, and obviously Kane got his goal against Southampton early on. I was like, him and Haw, no, I'm gonna this night is gonna be ruined now if Kane gets another one or two. But thankfully, he only got the one. I think it was a 6 or 7 point return, and then I was able to watch that Arsenal Palace game relaxed anyway, and thankfully then Saka got those 2 goals and an assist. But yeah, taking risks at the right time is all I'd say with the captaincy. And then that's half the battle. Once you get the captaincy right, it should in turn a good rank at the end of the season.
Okay, so yeah, let's get into your team then, Niall, and talk us through your selections and why you've gone for who you've gone for. I can see there you've got Onana in goal. What's your thought process behind going with him in goal?
Yeah, I think it's just the money saved with Onana over Shaw. We all know how good Shaw is as an FPL pick, but that 0.5 million could go a long way, especially towards the attacking side of the team. But for now, yeah, it's a cheaper. I'm thinking about it. It's a cheaper way into that United defense. We saw we can see how good Onana is with his feet. That would accumulate bonus points throughout games. But it's basically just the 0.5 save there. Fair enough, Shaw has that decent attacking output, but I nearly prefer Gabriel and Onana to Shaw and Ramsdale, for example, just because Ramsdale, fair enough, if they do keep their clean sheets, well, even if he's playing or not with that Raya news. But yeah, if Arsenal do keep clean sheets, I think he only got 8 or 9 bonus points last year, so he's not really going to rack up the bonus points. And then comparing Shaw and Gabriel, fair enough, you would probably prefer Shaw over Gabriel in an attacking sense, but Gabriel does have that attacking output. But yeah, that's the main reason. Just 0.5 saved, and then we can put that into the team up top.
Yeah, with Gabriel as well. I think I saw some stat on Twitter that in Arsenal's first 3 fixtures, they face some of the teams that have conceded the most chances through set pieces as well. So it sort of goes hand in hand there, and makes it a bit of a no-brainer. I know a lot of casuals, like my mates, when asking me like, what Arsenal defender do I go with? They seem to be going with Zinchenko, Ben White for obvious reasons, picking the fullback. But when you look at the underlying data, Gabriel is the most offensive Arsenal defender. So it's interesting. Hopefully he can get some attacking returns, because I don't think he's too highly owned either. I think he's like a decent ownership where, some attacking returns could make a difference. Moving on to the rest of your defense, obviously you mentioned Trent a little bit earlier on, and obviously Estupiñán. Trent, have you liked the look of how he's playing in pre-season? He sort of played in the 6 and a bit more recently played in the inverted fullback role. Are you happy with what you're seeing there, or are you thinking, maybe they need to invest in their midfield still for him to really flourish?
Yeah, not particularly. I'm not really enjoying what I'm seeing in pre-season. Sorry, he's had a few bits where he's been assisting the assister. Obviously that doesn't really get you anything in FPL, but yeah, I think we'll see how Liverpool line up for the last pre-season game. Hopefully they do sort things out there, and Trent, it's just basically I prefer to have him in the team, and it's easier to ship him out than get him in if he does perform well. I think Bournemouth gave me 3 last season. Fair enough, Salah didn't return in that massive win, but I think Trent came away with 17 points. So looking at that game week 2 fixture, that could be a big call for Trent. So I'd prefer to have him. And as I was saying earlier about the history of the nil-alls with Chelsea and Liverpool, that could easily be a 9-8 pointer, 7 pointer with a bonus point for Trent. So yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing a clean sheet for them. And then it's just easier to have him than wreck your team to get rid of him.
We'll move on then into your midfield quickly for you. So you've got Foden, Rashford, Saka, Mitoma, and Mbeumo. So it's a very strong midfield. A range really of price points from 9 million at Rashford to 6.5 with Mitoma and Mbeumo. Was the idea of this midfield to sort of strike balance between the 8-9 million pound midfielders and the 6.5s? And if so, what was the thinking behind going with that sort of balance within your midfield?
Yeah, that's exactly how I describe it. So balance there. You've Foden at a 7.5 price point. I'm hoping we will hopefully get the news if he's starting or not game week 1. But if he isn't, you've Maddison there, potentially Eze as well. You'll save yourself $1 million. But it's balance. I could say Bowen, but I'm not tempted by him at the start of the season anyway. But yeah, Foden. Hopefully he does get his run of games, because when he does play, he does return well. We were saying like his greediness. Haaland has been given out to him a few times. Whatever, if he doesn't pass the ball, but he's a good player to own in FPL because he's greedy. I know everyone's probably going to be captaining Haaland, but you want to see Foden being greedy. Fair enough, if he doesn't pass to Haaland, he can do well in other terms of attack in front. But Mitoma and Mbeumo are in there. Could potentially be Eze in there as well, but I like Mitoma. I think it's just his ownership that will save me. But Luton at home, they've 3 nice fixtures to start off as well. He did get I don't know, would it even go down as an FPL assist? I think it would for that Danny Welbeck goal when the keeper tapped it out to him. But Mitoma, when I watch Brighton, he's just exciting to watch, and I do think he will do well. And then Mbeumo, fair enough, he will be on penalties, or should be on penalties. But I think that Eze fixture for Arsenal, or the Arsenal fixture for Eze in game week 2, slightly puts me off him with having Gabriel in defence. But in Mbeumo on penalties, he stuck one away there at the weekend against Villa. So hoping he does start off flying. But the 6.5 midfielders are kind of they're tough calls to pick. You've Eze there as well. But I'm happy enough with those 2 for now. And I know Ben has Enciso in his team, and he's saving that $1 million going for Enciso. But Mitoma's there just surely on the ownership. But then Rashford, it's just bias. I prefer Rashford to Bruno. Fair enough. We still need to see how the new lad starts for United. But on the left, I probably would go for Bruno if Rashford is stuck on the left, with Bruno through the middle. But I've Rashford in for now. I think it's just biasy with going him for the triple captain last year. We've that kind of love relationship of having that 60 pointer with him. And then Saka, you just have to have at least one of those Arsenal midfielders. Saka's in there on penalties. Lovely run of fixtures up until game week 7 for Arsenal. So I'm hoping Saka kind of gets the ball rolling in that early kickoff on Saturday against Forest. And hopefully we'll see some big returns.
Yeah, some really nice picks there as well, and some good reasons why. Rashford's the one that interests me the most. I was watching the Dortmund versus United friendly, and obviously the first team came on for about 30 minutes, and pretty much every time Onana had the ball in his hands, he went long to Rashford, and he was basically in all the time if he had a good first touch. With Bruno, he seems to be not really getting shooting opportunities, and similar to last season, really. He's creating a lot of chances, but we all know that the goals mean more in midfield. So that 0.5 definitely could be worth it with him. And also, I feel like you give yourself a good captaincy option as well, because if I'm presuming in your team you haven't got Harry Kane, you only got with the 1 premium. Saka and Rashford will become captaincy options at some stage. I'm sure of it. Obviously, Haaland, is he going to play the same amount of minutes? We'll have to wait and see. So, it's going to be really interesting. I like the structure and layout in the midfield. And like you say, with Phil Foden, we should get early team news. If he starts, I think a lot of managers will be breaking their team to sort of fit him in on that deadline. So, really nice midfield.
2 assists in pre-season so far for Foden as well. Shows he's got that attacking output. And just City playing Burnley and Sheffield in their first 3. if Foden hits the ground running against Burnley away, he could be very popular.
Awesome. So let's take a look at your front line then. We alluded to one of the men up there, I'm sure. Erling Haaland on the captaincy. I'm sure he'll return game week 1 against Burnley. Let's hope. Gabriel Jesus, your second option. Obviously, he's your third Arsenal player and your second Arsenal attacker. What's the thinking with him? Is it more of a he's there because the template, like it's easier to move him down to a striker like Nkunku, see how he does in the first 2 games? Or is it because you think he's the better Arsenal attacker out of Martinelli and Odegaard?
Yeah, just that first point you just said there, it's easier to go from Jesus down to Nkunku and Nunes when if he doesn't start off well. But I do like Martinelli. We all know how good he's been in our teams last year. But yeah, Jesus is kind of in there as a placeholder. He's got 3 fixtures we can gamble on him, I suppose, for the first 3 games with that Liverpool fixture for Chelsea. But yeah, all depends. Obviously, Nunes is flying in pre-season as well. But yeah, I think that for us at home and for Arsenal, you'd be surely hoping Jesus gets even an assist or just something anyway, to start off. But it's easier to downgrade.
Yeah. I mean, Gabriel Jesus is a nice pick regardless. I mean, his expected goal involvement was very high in the minutes that he played last year. Obviously picked up some injury, so some degree of risk with that. But like you said, the opportunity to move him on to a Darwin Nunez and Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson, a Callum Wilson, and Ollie Watkins, there is a plethora of options up top. So I can definitely see why you've made that decision. And obviously, if it gets to a point where you need to move Jesus on, it opens up another Arsenal sort of potential asset to bring in for you. So you could double up on the defence if they're looking good defensively, or even go with another midfielder in there. So I'm definitely liking the way your team is set up. My question to you, though, is have you considered a different formation with sort of the emergence of Darwin looking good in pre-season? Have you considered going with the 3 strikers up top?
Yeah, not even 3 strikers, even 4 defenders could be a way to start off for the season. But yeah, I just think the midfielder options, Nunes, he can be very hot and cold at times as well, and we still don't know. Fair enough, and Nkunku is looking well, and we've even that Nick Jackson lad as well. It just all depends how Chelsea looked in that game week 1 fixture, but it could be too late by then. But I think I'm happy enough with the structure, just having Matoma, his ownership, and then having a punt either on Mbeumo or Eze, not fully locked in there as well. But then there's another lad then we were chatting about then, Diaby as well. So game week 7, game week 8, game week 9, when Brentford's fixtures kind of go down south, Villa's fixtures are looking good. He's a proven goal scorer in the Abbey. He's got one already for them, or he's got 2, is he, so far in pre-season for Villa? 2. So he could be a big option as well as a 6.5 midfielder. But it seems like every day we're how many 6.5 midfielders we've got, just one comes out of nowhere then as well, and just adds more of a headache to the situation.
Yeah, there's so many. I was doing a video earlier for TikTok, and I think that I put 5 or 6 on there. Like Harvey Barnes, we haven't even mentioned at Newcastle. He could be a great option. I think Alma on as well. So yeah, having 2 of those spots makes it a lot easier. Like you say, we've been able to move to the one that's on hot form, and being able to bounce around that sort of price point is quite nice. I'm sure Mitoma as well will definitely be doing well in his first 3 fixtures, and he seems one of the more nailed Brighton assets. I think that's one thing that everyone's been struggling to sort out in the preseason as well. Like Evan Ferguson's not nailed. There's shouts to João Pedro, who has looked really, really good, but do we know how many minutes he's got? Not really. I think Mitoma's sort of the only guy in his position that we know will play consistently. So he's probably the safest attacking pick from that team. Otherwise, you're sort of taking a gamble elsewhere.
Yeah, and even then, it shows how much of a rotation battle there is with those striker options. Evan Ferguson, even maybe a wee bit biased as an Irish person, but he's been great. But then João Pedro being their highest signing, then or most expensive signing, and he's looking like he's on penalties as well. So that striker options, and even Enciso as well for Brighton is a bit of a minefield. So yeah, I just prefer to have Matoma in there for hopefully security of minutes. But we all seen how that happened over the double game, which when March was getting benched, Matoma was getting benched. But yeah, hopefully he's all right to start the season anyway.
Okay, so let's move on and talk finally about your bench options, and it'll be interesting to see Here we are, what you've gone for. So you've gone for 2 West Ham players in there. You've gone Areola, who is obviously very highly owned within the FPL community. You've got Pau Torres. Now, it's an interesting one because Josh has spoken a little bit previously on the channel about him. Mubama from West Ham, and then Bell from Luton. Now, talk us through the decisions with this. You've gone a little bit cheaper on the bench. Is there a reason behind this?
Yeah, I think it's just the way I played the game every year. Barring your bench boost, you don't get any points for lads on your bench, so that's why it's kind of budget, a bit of a budget bench. But yeah, fair. As long as I have at least one bencher playing, I don't really care about the other 2 players if I'm not using any chips. But yeah, I prefer to just put the money into the starting 11. Fair enough. It's not how everyone plays the game. People like having 1 to 2 mid price lads on their bench. But yeah, Areola's in there. You can't really ask for much more. A 4 million keeper. He's played a few games in a pre-season, so it's still a question raised whether or not he will be West Ham's number 1. But the fact he played in their final last season in their most important game, surely David Moyes has big faith in him. But if I've got Onana in goals, it doesn't really mean I'm going to be playing Areola much. But 4 million, if he's playing, that's why he's in there. Pau Torres, I suppose, is just the main one who might change. Fair enough. Like Matty Cash there at the weekend, he got his goal. I saw, well, from a few threads on Twitter, Pau Torres is looking like he's playing deep. Fair enough, he's getting a regular starting place, but Matty Cash could be a bit of a rotation risk. But if he's playing, he's definitely got more chance of an attacking return. But saying that, like I'm going back to what me three defenders are there: Gabriel, Trent, and Estepinian. They're pretty much going to be playing mostly every week anyway. So it doesn't really matter who the 4.5 million player is. But Pau Torres is up there. You obviously have Botman, but Newcastle have poor fixtures to start off. You've Matty Cash there. You've even Caldwell for Chelsea if he does get a regular spot. So little options. We'll see how Chelsea line up for their last preseason fixture. If he will be a starter in their team, it could be a cheaper way into the Chelsea defence compared to James or Chilwell. That West Ham striker, haven't seen much of him, Mubama, but looking at David Moyes' quotes, it looks like he's probably going to be the 4.5 million striker who is going to get minutes. He's been doing well in pre-season for them anyway, and David Moyes certainly rates him. So yeah, it was Serge, but he's obviously left. Archer could be a shout as well, but you want just a 4.5 million striker just to have a chance of getting minutes. So even if it's a couple of minutes, he won't be coming into the team anyway. I'm happy enough with me starting 11, but only if it needs be. He can come in. And then just Bell for Luton. Same again. He won't be seeing much of me into the starting 11, but he's there at 4 million. Looks to be fairly solid for Luton. There's another 4 million player for Luton. I can't think of their name. I can't think of his name. Yeah, that lad there. Yeah, he looks good for starts as well. But yeah, it's more just cheap bench. Focus on the starting 11. But if I need a few points to sub in, at least it could be 1 or 2. Nothing hectic. But yeah, just with the 3-5-2 obviously means then we don't have that for Anderson for Newcastle. He's looking well. If I was playing 3-4-3, he'd be my 4.5 million midfielder. But yeah, that's how we're looking.
Yeah, it looks good. It's quite template really. Everyone really has Areola, which is the safe pick. You know, we think he's probably the most likely to start out those £4 million keepers, like you said. I think Pau Torres is a good option. It's interesting you mentioned Matty Cash. I think in that last pre-season friendly against Brentford, obviously we saw last season Villa sort of Cash not being too attacking, and Moreno was the one going forward. With the introduction of Torres, he was playing that sort of left centre-back, left-back role, and then that allowed Cash to go forward and become attacking. Obviously, he scored in that game. I think he, nearly got an assist as well. So that could be one to look out for, especially at the start of the season, because I think Moreno's missing until mid-September at least. So yeah, a really interesting option at 4.5. Obviously, you mentioned the other option. I think Colwell's quite a good option. And especially if you have like a Brighton defender as well, you could use the Brighton defender for the first 3, then rotate into that Chelsea defender for the remainder until about game week 10, where their fixtures are so good. And yeah, like you say, with Kabore, I think he's probably the better pick than Bell, just because he's playing fullback. But again, when will he see your team? I'm not too sure, because there's such a plethora of good options in that midfield. What's your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. The Pau Torres pick, I like. I think having Villa coverage is going to be very sensible this year because, like I said, they looked very good at the tail end of last season. Their form was of a team that was pushing for top four at the back end of the season. So I do anticipate that they've improved massively with the introductions of Pau Torres, Diaby. They're going to be much more solid as a team, and they're going to get at teams as well. So I think having a Villa player at any point in the season is going to be sensible. I can see them really pushing other teams in the league. And yeah, like I said, like those other two positions don't matter really too much in terms of your FPL team because they're not going to see many minutes. But if you can get players that are getting minutes in their respective teams and as well aren't too higher ownership, because we know at the start of the season those low priced, high owned players do drop in price if they sort of don't perform and get clean sheets and stuff like that. So it's worth considering that as well. Mibama is relatively low owned, but Bell is one that, he is quite high owned. If Luton don't get off to the best of starts, it could drop slightly in price over the sort of first 2 or 3 games. But yeah, like I said, overall, pretty template on the bench, and that's pretty much what you should be going with at this point in the season. Yeah, there's like it a lot. Okay, so that rounds up FPL Eire's team. And Niall, thank you once again for coming on. It was interesting to see your thoughts and insights into your team. Where can everyone catch you if they haven't seen you before?
Yeah, you can get me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and even a wee bit of TikTok at FPL Eire, just FPL_EIRE. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've a few bits to come, hopefully. And that'll be big on the channels between next week and the week of this week and the week of the deadline next week. So yeah, keep an eye out for those bits anyhow.
Yeah, definitely get following FPL Eire on Instagram if you don't already. He's producing some quality content. There's going to be an awesome video coming in next week. I can assure you of that. So all those links will be in the description if you do want to check him out. Thanks for coming on, Niall. We massively appreciate it, mate.
Appreciate it, lads. Yeah, great to catch up with you again, and it definitely won't be as long as again. We'll do one sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as Josh alluded to. And I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
We'll see you guys.
Oh
no!
Sorry.
As always, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
I've been FPL Eire.
And we'll see you guys
next time.